Today was the NBA trade deadline. It was as active as ever, and we're going to grade all of these significant trades that went down. I'm going to hand it off to Daniel to get this party started.
All right, so we're going to touch on pretty much every trade today, but not the small ones that were traded for cash or protected second-round picks, such as the GOAT Celtics legend Delano Banton. But we're going to start off, in my opinion, with the biggest trade of the day, which puts the Knicks in a whole different tier. They traded Ryan Arcidiacono, Malachi Flynn, Evan Fournier, Quentin Grimes, and 2 second-round picks for Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks with the Pistons. This trade caught me off guard because the initial reporting from Shams was they traded for Alec Burks for a package of Quentin Grimes and picks, which is a terrible trade. And people were like, why in the world would the Knicks do that? And then Woj was like, oh yeah, by the way, Bojan Bogdanovic is in the trade as well. And everyone's like, oh, that makes it completely different. I believe Bojan Bogdanovic is under contract for next season as well. And when fully healthy, this Knicks team is Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Bojan Bogdanovic, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. And that is the right combination of offense and defense. Defensively, they have one weak spot in Bojan Bogdanovic, but 4 other players that are more than capable, especially Mitchell Robinson in the paint, of picking up his slack. For the Pistons, I hate this trade so much. They were making weird trades throughout the season to try to stay competitive because they were off to a historically bad start, which is sad because they actually were trying to win games. So then they made some trades, and then now it kind of just felt like they're like, all right, screw it. We're just going to punt. We're going to give it up on the season. The only good piece they got was Quentin Grimes, who was a very solid player for the Knicks the past few seasons, but unfortunately started to miss a few shots this year and then fell out of Tom Thibodeau's rotation for the most part. And that just gives them some upside, but it's just not a trade. Arcidiacono is probably going to get waived or not even play a minute for them. Malachi Flynn has not worked out at all. And Evan Fournier, forgot he's in the league, got a huge contract 2 off seasons ago and just has not played like that whatsoever. So this puts the Knicks in a completely different tier, in my opinion. It puts them with the Celtics and probably the Cavs. And the Celtics are still a tier above them. But in the conversation where like you can make a strong argument, they get the right schedule, they can make it to the NBA Finals with health. With health is a huge thing. But I give the Knicks an A+ on this trade. Even I didn't even touch on Alec Burks, giving him potential 15 off the bench at any given night. And that just is something that they've lacked since they traded Emmanuel quickly. And for the Pistons, I give them a D+. This is just, people were saying on Twitter that you just gave away 2 of your best players just to help the Knicks win a championship. And it just, I don't know, but that's how I feel about the trade. The second biggest trade for me today was a trade that some people didn't see coming because there were reports that the Thunder kind of wanted to wait out the season to see how they fared in the playoffs before making a big move or anything. And the trade they made wasn't a blockbuster, don't get me wrong. It's not like a Lauri Markkanen type of trade, but it's a player that has had conference finals experience, and he's been just a steady player. Unfortunately, he's hurt quite often, and he's hurt right now, actually. Gordon Hayward. They acquired Gordon Hayward from the Charlotte Hornets in exchange for Davis Bertans, Trey Mann, and part of my pronunciation, Vasilije Micic, and a couple draft picks as well. Bertans didn't play. Trey Mann, he is a good young guard on a team full of good young guards, so he had no path to playing time whatsoever. So this kind of gives him a chance to prove himself in Charlotte, where there's an Ish Smith, Frank Ntilikina, not really good point guards, and LaMelo Ball's been hurt quite often. So it gives him a chance to prove himself and potentially build his value. And Micic, they paid him some good money, and he hasn't really paid out for the Thunder at all. They just had a bunch of talent that they were able to do this. And Hayward flits like a glove. He provides the Thunder with offense, playmaking, shooting, stuff that Lou Dort, while he gives you good defense, does not have. Josh Giddey, on and off, but it allows them to put in Gordon Hayward and gives them veteran presence, helps take off the load from Shea quite often. And I just think it was like a perfect, like a glove trade. I sent a mock draft or mock trade thing to these guys over here. I thought they were to go after Bojan Bogdanovic. This is kind of the same player, but I'd honestly personally rather have Gordon Hayward over Bojan Bogdanovic for this team. So I love this trade. I give the Thunder an A+. I think this was a perfect, like, we're not going to ruin our future, but this gives us also a chance to see what happens. And then the Hornets, I give them B-, B. Like, they did good for Gordon Hayward, who has not played much this season and was going to be a pending free agent. So they got a good young talent project in Trey Mann, and the draft picks probably won't amount to much, but it was a solid trade overall, like just a win-win for both teams in my opinion. And then I'm going to touch briefly on the Mavericks, and we're going to have a segment a little later talking about winners, losers. I loved what the Mavericks did this deadline so much. They had limited resources, and their team has been, I would say, average. Luka's been hurt quite often. Kyrie's been hurt quite often. They have a bunch of other injuries. And they made a trade today with the Hornets again. And the Hornets traded PJ Washington and 2 second-round picks for Seth Curry, Grant Williams, and a 2027 top 2 protected first-round pick. First of all, great haul for the Hornets. Love it. The 2027 first-round pick, top 2 protected, could be valuable in the off chance, who knows, few years, the Mavericks don't make the NBA Finals. Luka's like, screw you guys. I'm going to go play with Nikola Jokic in Denver. I don't want to be here anymore. And then that pick becomes very, very, very valuable for a team like the Hornets, who basically only have their picks for the next few years. Grant Williams, sad story, Celtics legend. He signed a huge contract with the Mavericks, gets traded less than 6 months later. He started off the season phenomenal, been absolutely terrible recently, and then I guess just it was to the point where like, all right, we're not going to wait 4 more years for you to get together. We need some production now. This team is ready to go. So they dumped him, and Seth Curry in the offseason looked like a good signing. He has not been a good signing at all. He just has a reputation for being a good shooter, but he has not really played that well. And then, yeah, for the Mavericks fit, PJ Washington, he's shooting 32% from the field or from the 3 this season. They need him to bump it up a little bit to 35 because Luka is going to give him a bunch of opportunities to shoot the spot up 3, and that's what they're going to ask him to do. But he's also a solid option for the nights that Luka or Kyrie are out. It gives him he can give him 15, not even I'd say 20, but like a 15-point game, which is what they desperately need, and that's something Grant Williams cannot do at all. Grant Williams is the better defender. PJ Washington's decent on the defensive end, but like nothing crazy. I give the Mavericks like an A- for this trade. It's again, for the resources and what they gave up, wasn't the best. I think they could have gotten a little better for a 2027 top 2 protected pick. But at the same time, Grant Williams, Seth Curry provided them really nothing, and Grant was a huge dud. And for the Hornets, I give him like a B+. Again, Grant Williams is only 25. He can still be a long-term option at the 4. And then again, I'm not going to repeat myself, but the 2027 first-round pick was a very good get for them. We're going to shout out a fellow 76ers fan. It's not the trade that he's going to go on a rant a little later on, a little spoiler. But they did make a significant move early in the morning. They acquired Buddy Hield from the Indiana Pacers in exchange for Furkan Korkmaz, who has been asking for a trade for the longest time, probably the worst player to ever ask for a trade ever. And he finally got his wish, and I don't know if he's going to play in Indiana, but he's there. Marcus Morris Sr., who was an Indiana Pacer legend for like about 2 hours before they traded him again, and then 3 second-round picks. I love this fit for the Sixers. It allows when Joel Embiid comes back, either for the playoffs or at the end of the regular season, it gives Joel Embiid a very, very good spot-up shooter that, again, speaking of wanting to get traded, Buddy Hield has actually been traded for like 2 years, I believe now, and then they finally give him his request. And he just fits well with Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, Buddy. Like if you put a lineup of Tyrese Maxey, Buddy Hield, Tobias Harris, maybe Nick Batum for just shooting purposes, and Joel Embiid, that is a lot of spacing for Joel Embiid to cook. And he's been cooking without a player like Buddy Hield to give him spacing. So even for Tyrese Maxey, too, because it allows the defender not to come in on them and like double team them. And it has like these spot up shooters in the corner. Nick Batum, he's old, but he can shoot the ball really well. And it's just cooking by Daryl Morey. I don't know if he cooked that much this deadline, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, for the Pacers, don't love the trade. Like 3 second-round picks for Buddy Hield is actually a really good get because Buddy Hield, again, is a pending free agent, and he hasn't been that good this year, but obviously his three-point potential is always there. Korkmaz is not going to play. Morris is not even on the team anymore. So I give the Pacers like a C+ just for the picks aspect. The players aspect was pretty like not good after they just made a huge trade to get Pascal Siakam. And then for the Sixers, I give them a B+, A-. Like it's a good fit. I kind of wish they got like a little better player, and we'll talk about him later, but maybe someone like a DeJounte Murray with that kind of salary they had with Morris. Maybe they weren't willing to give up like a DeAnthony Melton or something like that to make that work, or the 3 first-round picks they would have taken. But it was a solid trade for them. Like nothing crazy, but I think it helped their playoff chances a little bit better. We're going to go back on the Mavericks, and something that was briefly touched on. They made another trade, which I think was a pretty underrated trade that was just thrown under the rug. They traded for Daniel Gafford, who has actually been playing some of his best basketball of his career this year. In the past recent stretch, he's been grabbing boards like crazy. He's a solid defender, little undersized for the center position, which is why he's not as valuable. But he still plays solid defense, and they traded for him for Rashawn Holmes, who, man, he was good a few years ago, and he's just fallen off. He keeps on going to these news teams and just not working. He gets traded. I think got traded last deadline as well. It just does not work. And and they also got a first-round pick, though, which is a good get for Daniel Gafford because he's a good player, but first-round pick, it's not the best first-round pick, but, like, it's a first-round pick. For the Mavericks, I give this an A because shout out to Derek Lively, very good player, young player. Daniel Gafford's just a little more proven, and that pick and roll threat with Luka is gonna be insane.
Nasty.
Daniel Gafford is an insane lob catcher, and just gives them a brand new dynamic on the offense. And yeah, Rashawn Holmes, I don't think he's good. So for the Wizards, I give him like a C, just like an average grade. Like again, the first round pick is good, but Rashawn Holmes is not. So they're not trying to win games though, so it doesn't really matter for them. They're just all about the first round pick, and Daniel Gafford isn't like an untouchable player. So I love what the Mavericks are building so much. They have such a good lineup now, just like that. They just got rid of all their bad pieces and everything. And then the Wizards, talk about a terrible franchise. They are going so south so quick. Jordan Poole got booed last night for going for 0 points in like 25 minutes. Kuzma, I do not understand for the life of me why they would not trade him, seeing some of these prices. They want to hold on to them. I don't know what they are cooking in Washington, but I don't think it's going to be a bright future. They're not making the playoffs for the next 5 years, that's for sure. And then we're going to go into a little bit of the lesser trades. Still some solid role players, so I'm not going to go as long on them, but there's some decently notable names being traded here. One of the weirdest trades of the day, which made no sense for me personally, the Toronto Raptors acquired Kelly Olynyk and O'Shea Agabaji. God, I messed it up. I apologize. But in exchange for Kira Lewis Jr., Otto Porter Jr., a first-round pick, I don't get it. Masai Ujiri, what are you cooking? You got rid of your two of your best players
Seriously.
back in January and December, and then immediately you're like, wait, Kelly Olynyk's a sought-after big. Let's go buy him while these other playoff contenders want to get him. I love O'Shea Agbaji. I believe that's a phenomenal acquire. Like, I don't know why the Jazz were so willing to let him up. Maybe because Colin Sexton's playing some of the best basketball he has for them. Chris Dunn has, out of nowhere, become a very solid point guard, and they maybe just didn't have room for him. But I don't understand why you give up so quick. Kelly Olynyk, shout out Kelly Olynyk, back in the North, the true Canadian over there. The Jazz haul, again, first-round pick, good. The players, horrible. Otto Porter Jr., constantly injured. He was injured all of last year. I believe he played like 2 games and then got hurt again. This year he's hurt again. Kira Lewis Jr. has been passed around like crazy. No one wants him. His potential, he tore his ACL, I believe, 2 years ago or last year, has just not been the same player. So the Jazz just dumped him. And I know the Jazz aren't trying to contend, but if you're in the Jazz locker room, you've won 2 straight games against 2 really good teams, and your front office goes, yeah, let's trade some good pieces off this team and not give you some pieces back, and let's see if you guys can still make the play-in. This kind of happened last year as well, because they were cooking in the play-in mix, and they're like, yeah, let's trade Mike Conley, and guess what? They missed the play-in, because for some reason Danny Ainge's like, would rather have picks. So I don't know what Danny Ainge is doing. I know he just loves his picks, but like I kind of feel if you're in the Utah locker room, it'd kind of be a little disheartening that he would just do that. But for the Raptors, I love the trade. Kelly Olynyk's probably just a rental, but Agbaji should probably be a long-term piece for them. So I give him B+, A- probably just for Agbaji, and then the Jazz, I give them like a C-, D+. I don't like the trade for them at all. And then another role player-ish, well, not ish, it was mainly a role player trade, was between a three-man trade between the Grizzlies, Suns, and Nets. The Suns did really great in this trade, acquiring Royce O'Neal and David Roddy. Royce O'Neal from the Nets, David Roddy from the Grizzlies. I give them an A because they're a team with definitely limited resources, and they definitely upgraded their bench significantly because their bench has been one of their weakest spots. The Grizzlies got Yuta Watanabe and a pick swap, which Yuta Watanabe, I was huge on him coming out of free agency just for being a 3-point shooter and a solid defender. He has been horrible for the Suns this year, so that was very unfortunate for me. I wanted him to go to the Celtics so bad. Thank God he did not. And the Nets received just Keita Beats Diop, Jordan Goodwin, Chimezi Metu, and 3 second-round picks. I don't know. The Nets didn't get much better. The Grizzlies didn't get much better, and the Suns got better. So I just think it was just a chance for the Grizzlies to get a body that they've been not having for a while, because they have a bunch of injuries on their team, and then the Nets, just a few bodies, because they made a bunch of trades today as well. So Nets, probably a C, just an average grade. Same with the Grizzlies, probably a C+, because Watanabe could have some value. And then the Suns, I gave them like an A. Another random-ish trade, which ironically involves the Toronto Raptors again. They traded Dennis Schroeder and Thaddeus Young to the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for Spencer Dinwiddie and Dennis Smith Jr. It has now since been reported that the Raptors are going to waive Spencer Dinwiddie, and now the Nets are going to waive Thaddeus Young. So basically, it's a Dennis Smith Jr. for Dennis Schroeder swap, which is interesting. Not really any favor for anybody, and for that aspect, I just give them both Bs. Like Dennis Schroeder wanted to be the lead of an offense. He's not going to be the lead of the offense in Brooklyn, but he'll be the point guard for sure. He can set up Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, and Mikal Bridges. Dennis Smith Jr. is having a career resurgence after he had one last year with the Hornets. He's still proving he's a very good defender, probably one of the most underrated in the league. And I guess the Raptors, again, I don't know exactly what they are cooking, but they're just piling on some guards and everything. But it's just average trade in my opinion. I give it B's for both. And then a trade that is going to be a heavy topic I will briefly touch on before someone else absolutely cooks on this trade. Kind of caught everyone off guard just for the fact it's two people pretty close in the standings that why would you make a trade of this kind of significance? The Milwaukee Bucks acquired Patrick Beverley in exchange for Cameron Payne and a 2027 second round pick. Cam Payne's solid, good backup, but what Pat Bev brought to the city of Philadelphia just off the court and on the court was kind of crazy to just dump, especially to a team like the Bucks who really, really need a player like Pat Bev. And yeah, the 2027 second round pick for a 35-year-old is kind of good, but like, I don't know. The reports coming out of it is the reason why they cleared that is for Kyle Lowry because it's basically destined he's going to be a Sixer after all this because he'd probably get bought out by Charlotte. But yeah, I love it for Milwaukee. I give them an A because they needed defense so bad. That team has no defense whatsoever, and they needed a dog on their team. And the Sixers, I'm accounting in that Kyle Lowry's. I'm gonna basically say he's part of the trade, even though he's technically not. I give him a B because Lowry gives him a good point guard. He's a little washed, but in Cam Payne gives him a solid depth option. But yeah, I don't know why they would do that specifically to a team like the Bucks.
Hey, I'm Anthony, your friendly old Philadelphia fan that you see on here weekly giving you a rant about our franchises. Today, Daniel gave this a B, this trade with Patrick Beverley. He gave it a B. This was no lower than an F minus. Truly. Daryl Morey, everyone hates you, dog. Like, hates you. That whole James Harden situation, it is insane. It is insane you were not fired. Let go. Bro, fuck you. That's insane. What do? How do you top that off? You get Buddy Hield. Cool. Cool, dude. Cool. He's been on the trade market for the past 2 years, like Daniel said. Literally. Patrick Beverley. What this guy has brought to Philadelphia. We have not had that on this team since I've been watching, dude. I can't think of the last time we've had a player like Patrick Beverley in Philadelphia. I was talking to Dean. Okay, you look at the trade, and like, it's toward the bottom of the list. It's Patrick Beverley for Cam Payne and a pick, right? It's like, cool, that's mid. It's Pat Bev. I get that, bro. You look at his stats, it's like, it doesn't impress you. I get it. When you watch basketball and you don't look at the box score, this is Patrick Beverley's thing. The things he brings to a basketball but the things he brings to a basketball court is unprecedented. He was on ESPN one time, and he just threw up a stat. He was like, I don't know if you've ever seen it. He was like, if I'm guarding you, it's like Giannis is guarding you. But it's a joke, but it just shows the presence this guy brings on defense is like, it's unreal. But not just that, he pushes every single person around him to do the exact same thing. This guy, this man right here, the MVP of basketball, Joel Embiid. Patrick Beverley had Joel Embiid running suicides, dude. Suicides. Who is holding Tyrese Maxey accountable? I told you. Who? Because he's getting into basketball. Tyrese Maxey is not a very good basketball player when he's without Joel Embiid. He's just not. He had like a 50 point, 40 point game the other day. Awesome. The rest of them aren't that good, dog. He's the one that holds you accountable, dude. He's the one. Nobody else. Not one leader in our locker room. I can't think off the top. Nicholas Batum. Yeah. It doesn't. You're not bringing what he brings. Milwaukee. Good for you. This is what you need. So bad. So bad. Defense. Boom. Bring a little dog there. Boom. I mean, he might kick Doc Rivers out of Milwaukee himself. I'm not going to lie. But all I'm saying is, Daryl Morey, you're a joke. There's more to basketball. I know it's a business. Basketball is business, right? There's just more to it, man. This is like, I truly thought this guy was a lifetime 76er. Bro, I have a jersey on the fucking way, dude. On the way. And am I still going to frame it? Yes. Yes. Because this is Philadelphia. And Pat, I hope when he leaves, Mr. Daryl Morey, this guy, Daryl Morey, when this fraud leaves town, you better be right back in Philadelphia, and we will welcome you back with open arms. Pat Bev, go win you a chip, dog.
As for losers of this deadline, I have five teams, excuse me. The Hawks, Bulls, Cavaliers, Lakers, and Magic did not make a single trade. The Cavs are cooking, so they don't count. Lakers, LeBron's probably leaving. What are you doing? Why are you not going all in right now? I know you can have 3 first-round picks in the offseason, but still doesn't make a lot of sense. Magic, I kind of wish that they would have added someone. Kind of sucks that they didn't. And the Hawks and Bulls, mediocre as hell. Shout out, Holden. What are you doing holding the same squad, just expecting you guys to somehow vault into the playoffs? That's just stupid. Just stupid management. And then for the winners, Mavericks definitely improved their team. I love what the Knicks did so much. And also the Thunder as well. And I think a little bias here. I love what the Celtics did with the very limited resources. Jaden Springer, shout out Anthony.
Yes, sir.
Put Steph Curry in hell yesterday. Held him to 9 points. And the other day he held Luka to I don't even know, not 30 plus. I know that for sure. And then the Sixers are like, hey, let's give him to Boston for a second-round pick. Thanks, guys.
That's going to be it for today's NBA trade deadline. Thank you, Daniel, my co-host, for coming on and dropping that basketball knowledge. I'm not a basketball knower. I'm trying to learn. He is. So, again, thank you to him for doing all that. Make sure to look out for our Bettor's Guide to the Super Bowl coming out tomorrow. And that is going to be it for today's video. Thank you, everybody, for watching.